Hmm. You are gods. Welcome, gods. Namaste. Namaste basically is saying you are God. Or I recognize the God in you, the divine in you. Mhm. Is that is found in Advaita Vedanta. And a famous expression is Sat Chit Ananda. Sometimes they truncate the A at the end. Sat Chit Anand. I, I think it comes with the A at the end. J Sat Chit Ananda. Well, actually, there's a person by the name of Ananda. Let's see. Who is this Ananda? Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Hmm. Is there an Ananda? Isn't there an Ananda in the Buddhist? So it yes, and Ananda, Ananda, Ananda is a central figure Buddhist suttas. He was the Buddha's cousin, personal attendant, and one of the foremost disciples, remembered for preserving and reciting the teachings that became the Sutta Pitaka. Wow. So, who was Ananda? So, there's a family connection. So, Ananda was, I should say, Ananda was the son of Amitodana, the Buddha's uncle. Mhm. Making Ananda the Buddha's cousin. Ordination. He joined the monastic order at the age of 37, along with other Sakyan nobles, including Anuruddha and Devadatta. Oh, Devadatta. Bad, very bad boy. I think he's the bad guy. Or maybe he was Atisha's cook to the Buddha. If you know who Atisha is, that's an Indian that appeared in Tibet to teach Tibetan. He had a cook that was hmm, a pain in his butt. Well, At least Atisha's cook didn't kill him. Well, Atisha did die kind of young. Um, Not too young, not too old, I guess. It accomplished that. Mm. So, so he joined at age 37. At age 55. 18 years later, the Buddha chose Ananda as his personal attendant because of his reliability, humility, and impeccable conduct. And it would turn out that Ananda had great memory. Well, he probably heard the Buddha's teachings so often that that he recognized, oh, that's the same one. That's the same teaching he taught the other day. He's maybe the Buddha was on a tour, a teaching tour, and he said, okay, I'm gonna be teaching these topics. And so Ananda had a front row seat, you could say, in in the concerts. So I wonder if he took notes. I wonder if Ananda was literate. Well, he's of noble family. Maybe he was literate. Mm-hmm. 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 Maybe I could drink some tea. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Let's see. Did I get paid? Let's see. Got paid. Oh, okay. I got paid. Damn. Okay. Mm. Mm. Okay. Mm. Okay. Hello. Welcome.
Hi,
Welcome.
Haro. Thank you.
How are you?
Actually, well, I'm getting over. Not getting over. I received a cold from my son, who received it from his older sister, who received it from the band that she's in.
Oh, there's a genealogy to that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the first one. Who was the first human to begin that cult?
Yes, right, right. And is the cold itself a product of nature or a product of both nature and mankind's nature?
Does the cult evolve? Well,
Of
the
course.
virus does.
Yes. Marcus Aurelius said, "Universes change. Life is opinion."
Wow.
Or at least that's how Donald Robinson sums up all of Marcus's philosophy in 6 words.
Wow. That's Marcus Aurelius? He said
Yes.
what?
Well, it's technically it's Donald Robinson's summation of Marcus Aurelius's
Oh,
philosophy. Universe is change, life is opinion.
the universe is life is opinion. Did you hear that, Naya?
Good to see her.
The universe is changed. Wait a minute.
Hmm.
That cannot be.
Why couldn't it?
The components in the universe appear to change, but does the universe itself change?
Yes, of course. It's the constant.
Maybe, maybe, maybe the universe is like a milkshake,
Oh,
and you shake it around, but the ingredients stay the same, so it doesn't change.
it's more complicated than a milkshake, however. Particles have been known to pop in and out of existence.
Oh, so where
Yes.
do they pop in from, and where do they pop out to?
Right. Yeah. To us, it's a mystery. It's like
Yes.
from
So
ex nihilo, but in a constant way, and then gone again.
ex ni ex nihilo.
That's it.
What does that mean?
Out of nothing.
Wow, I don't know. Ah, how can that be? Doesn't
Right.
doesn't that violate the law, the
The preconceived notion
conservation
that man set for himself.
conservation of energy law?
Well, yes and no, because we know in essence that well, first of all, as a prerequisite, we have to understand that matter is energy condensed.
Mm,
If the universe has the same amount of energy, and I don't know that we have a way of measuring it, but if we think
mm,
of the entire universe as a combination of energy and condensed energy, that which is matter, then we can either view it all as coming into being with the same amount and ending with the same amount. But what the quantum physicists have found is that particles will pop out of nowhere. I don't know if that's the result of uh, whether those particles were pre existing or whether those particles were the result of a literal popping into existence.
wow. Is it
Yes.
like a box of chocolate?
I don't know if it's a
Life
box of
is
chocolate, but I have
like
to complete this idea before you go too far. But let me listen to your idea and then I'll complete the idea.
life is like a box of chocolate.
Go on.
Someone said you
Okay.
never know
Yes.
what you're gonna get. So
You
they
never know what you're going to get. Is that the full idea?
or when you open the box, you see chocolates, and you
Okay.
you never know what you're gonna get. Maybe
Well,
they pop into existence. Like you popped in into this meeting, and like Akshat popped in. Welcome,
welcome.
Akshat.
Welcome, Akshat. To complete the idea, and by the way, I can't let that movie reference go without the documentary line from one of Carl Sagan's Cosmos lines also complement it. If you want to make an apple pie, first you must create a universe.
Wow.
Okay. Now, the whole popping into existence thing, I'm not certain personally whether it's a matter of that's when we first measure it or that's where from a vacuum the energy springs forth. However, and I could be mixing another idea in there when I put it in that way. However, on average, let's say the total amount of energy of the universe were a constant, which I don't know that it is. But if it were, that means for the new particles coming into existence, that would also mean that on average, a certain number of particles would pop out of existence. All right. Akshat, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. Hi. Nice to meet you all. Nice to see you again, Harold. Yeah, I'm from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, Earth. And yeah, I had a couple of comments. I came in when you guys were talking box of chocolates. I'm assuming that was reference to Forrest Gump. So I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to say I would take a cherry jelly one if I get to choose the flavor of the
Definitely.
chocolate. And
Yes.
yeah, and the pie thing, which Carl Sagan, yeah, I like Cosmos, especially the 3D to 2D story, the dimension of shadow. Actually, there's a very very funny video on YouTube. I'll see if I can find it,
Okay.
because the person that depicted it with drawing has done it really well. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, the thing with the universe part, yeah, I totally get that. But I was thinking from efficiency standpoint, would it not be easier to just make an oven? Thanks.
Would it not
Make
be easier to make an oven?
an oven?
Oh,
Yeah,
you're.
for the
I
pie.
think. Oh well, I think what we're then talking about is a matter of scale.
Ah, I see, I see.
In order to make a pie, you need a universe. Oh, that's that's very profound.
Yes, thank you, Carl Sagan,
And
or whoever came up with the line. Where do
in
ideas
order
come from?
in order to make anything, you need a new universe in and and the ingredients. In order to have those ingredients, you need a universe. And so what is the origin of each individual ingredient? Mm, The other ingredients, where does it end? So everything is depending on other things. Dependent origination. The 12 links of dependent origination. That was a summary of how it all mm, mm, co- get caused, cause and effects, or is it effects and causes? Which one came first, the effect or the cause? Well,
Oh,
obviously the cause. Maybe everything's causes and conditions.
yeah. Well, yeah,
Mm.
means and ends. We live in a civilization of means. We can spend our entire life working towards creating tools which implement or which are part of the means for means. The real question is, what are the ends?
And then, where did the universe come from? Or was it always there?
Yeah,
Was it
that's the
created?
classic East-West question.
And then, was it a God that created it? Then what created that God? So is a God separate, a creator God separate from the universe, or it's or the universe is part of that? Mhm.
Right, yes, yes. Is the universe a emergent manifestation out of God?
Mm, I found a video on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Talks about Vedantic Christianity.
Oh, that's
Mm.
interesting. So, a Hindu Christian. Well, tell us about Vedantic because there are many branches of Hinduism.
So it must be Advaitic Vedantic or Advaita Vedantic Christianity.
Okay, now
that
you've introduced Advaita.
that in other words, the Vaita is dual and add or they put an a in front of it, like when you like the word atheist, you put an a in front of theist and you get the
Non-dual.
opposite. So
Okay,
Advaita is non-dual.
right.
So
So,
non-dual
so we're
Vedanta,
speaking the question between dualism and monism at this point.
and so that you can't have God up there or somewhere in the and we're in a vacuum separate from God. That God and the universe are all One. Mhm.
How does
So,
the
how can
there's a
one, how
yeah.
can the universe create itself? Then, if that's so, then you don't need a creator for the universe. It creates itself. So you don't need a
Okay, so
creator.
what do we mean when we say it creates itself?
Huh. Or maybe it's creating itself all the time. It didn't
Okay.
have a beginning. The
So what do we mean by it?
universe.
Okay.
Oh,
So
but then what is
yes,
the universe?
right. Well, I mean, is this all? Does it come down to narratives?
Mhm. Yes.
When I ask that question, no, I separate us from the line of inquiry, which is scientific, and I move seamlessly into. And I have to point this out because it's important that we understand that we're shifting domains of knowledge here. When I ask if it's narrative, um,
Narrative.
you're right. Yeah, I mean, science in and of itself, being a sub branch of philosophy. Um,
Mm,
okay, I think you're following what I'm saying, perhaps.
narrative. Narrative is like theory or explanation.
Yes, right.
Mhm.
What else is it?
Why do we why do we want to have a theory of everything? TOE.
And what are we after?
My
What's
big
our end?
There's a guy named Thomas Campbell that wrote a trilogy called My Big Toe. My Big Theory
What
of
were the
Everything.
three? What were the three titles? You said it was a trilogy. What were the three names of the components of that trilogy?
Or maybe it's volumes, but he calls it a
Okay.
trilogy of like it's a huge book, and he was a NASA in, engineer, and he formulated his theory of everything that does not separate consciousness from the universe, that includes the consciousness in the universe. So it ends up explaining a lot of things like reincarnation and things like that.
Okay. All right. Good. Very good. Now, what does it mean to be reincarnated if you have no memory of your past life?
Oh, what does it mean to be reincarnated if if I have no memory of my past life? Then it then it makes this life not 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 any better or worse, but then you end up deciding whether to believe or not to believe in reincarnation as a phenomenon. But just by hearing about it, then you can decide one or the other. But if you remember, then maybe it would change from a belief to a knowing.
A belief to a knowing. So the differences between belief and knowing are knowing, there is no doubt. Belief, there remains room for a component of doubt. Would you say that
Knowing,
doubt
there
completes
is
belief?
belief. Oh, when you
Yeah,
have a
knowing.
belief,
Yeah.
you may have
Uh-huh.
doubt. Mhm.
Yes.
But if you know, then
It's
may
absolute.
have, you may.
Absolute. Yeah. Well, knowing, I would say, so which is absolute, the belief or the knowing?
Hmm.
I would say the knowing would be absolute.
I agree.
Actually,
Yeah.
I wrote a poem actually just regarding this. Let me
Yes.
share it with you guys here in
Please.
chat. It's called "Collecting Karma Points at the Beach."
Ooh.
Uh, and it's just like a free verse kind of maybe like generic, not like a special kind like a haiku or anything like that. So just give me a second. My system is glitching up here.
Okay.
I want to paste it in chat before I. Okay, there we go. Okay, collecting
Alright.
karma points at the beach. Pick up the trash that you and your friends have left behind, so there is less trash when you're born next time. Some religions forget to tell you about your next life, but go in full depth about your afterlife. Like low tides that go out and high tides that come back in, heavy rocks stay in their space where dropped, yet their ripples go far and wide in time. Thanks.
Ooh,
Comments
wow.
welcome.
Nice.
Mm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Light time goes out and heavy rocks stay in their place where drop yet ripples. Who drops the rocks?
No.
That's a good question. I think everyone drops rocks. But this kind of goes in what we were talking about a few minutes back about karma and reincarnation and this
Mm.
concept about coming back. So I think people should look at reincarnation as a form of optimization. So every generation gets better or worse depending on the past generation. So you can have an
Mm.
upward spiral or downward spiral.
Mm.
So you can think of it as
Oh.
a collective thing, and then this kind of goes back and answers that question: where does the universe end and where does the universe begin? If you visualize it as a snow globe, like there's actually snow outside now. Then you shake it, and everything, all those particles are part of the snow globe. Yet
Mhm.
without the particles, you would have no snow globe. If that makes any sense.
Without the particles, you would have no snow globe. In other words, without the right, without the particles, you'd have no snow globe. So the snow globe is I mean, it's an inescapable fact that the snow globe is a sealed, it's a microcosm. Yes.
Yeah, it could be. You could even say a universe is made full of snow globes, and the snow
Nice.
globes are made full of snow particles.
Microcosm. Let's see. Let me stop and think about that for a moment. So, can we say that each one of us is a model, walking, talking? Some of us can't talk, some of us can't walk, but each one of us is a microcosm of the universe. In other words, we are universes within a universe.
Yeah, there's that is my understanding of how it functions. But I would also go to the lens to say that the universe is in its entirety in the person. So technically, it's this concept of Indra's net, right? Or this
Mm-hmm.
Rumi always talks about the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
and the rain or water droplet. But if you expand the Rumi concept, which is what I've been starting to do now recently, is I think of it as the water cycle. It's just
Mm-hmm.
this different inherent properties that water goes through: life, death, rebirth, whatever you want to call it. And it can theoretically be in any space and any time, and
Mm-hmm.
that determines time is required to identify that cycle, I think.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
again, it all gets complex because our physics hasn't caught up yet.
right. Not only that, but any. What do we mean by the word any? Um,
Imi
Yeah,
or
and then
Rumi? Did you,
yes.
did, did you hear Imi or Rumi?
Well, he was speaking of Rumi. The Rumi is how we Latinize the name. He was actually called Rumi because he was in the border area between, I think, uh, he was on the eastern edge of uh, or western Afghanistan, eastern Persia, probably into the
Wow.
Afghani area, what is today in those regions. But the reason why they called him Rumi was because they thought of him as Roman, because
Oh,
the
Roman from Rome?
well, the Islamic Empire had conquered Constantinople already prior to the time of Rumi, and um, the Islamites, I don't think I've ever used that phrase, had adopted many of the the collected works from the Greco-Roman and were translating them into Arabic, or had already and had been studying them for a while. And they incorporated like the crescent moon. That symbol was actually, it didn't start with Islam, it started with Constantinople. It was an Eastern Orthodox motif found in Constantinople. But anyway, he was so Romanized by that point in terms of the culture, because Islam is very culture neutral, allows whatever culture exists to continue to persist in its system. That the people in Afghanistan looked at this guy and thought he was a Roman, and that's how he got the name Rumi.
Wow.
Yeah. But the question is, ini. What do we mean by ini? Because the universe is either 13.49, whatever, however old it is, or it could be something that completely converts into energy and is recreated brand new, and it's in a state of an eternal vacillation. This is the guy whose name, he got a Nobel Prize, and I think Rose is somewhere in there. But either we are either the universe is constant, the Eastern idea always has existed, always will exist, or it is something that has a definite beginning and will end in any number of, there are at least three ways: heat death, with a bang, or with a fizzle. Or tearing itself apart, literally, maybe into universe fragments at that point. I don't know. But because my argument is, and sorry for bringing up an argument, but I figure it gives one a framework. If we are in a cycle, let's assume for a moment that the universe has always been and always will be. That would be the Eastern view. Then according to the astrological observations and the theorists who utilize that data, the universe began with a bang. We're not quite sure how it's going to end, but it began with a bang about between 13 and 14 billion years ago. And also, because of their observations, they had to modify it and say that it went through early in its process a period of inflation wherein it expanded faster than the speed of light.
Wow.
Yes. Which means either the universe is much older than the theory, or inflation is real. And I can't really say, but the definite idea is to compare one against the other is either that it has always been and always will be, versus it had a definite beginning and we don't know exactly how it will end. Those are the two poles from which to within which we exist.
So what if when it was going at the speed of light in expansiveness, so let's say that it's now starting to slow down to be going less than the speed of light, and then it comes to a peak, and it starts going the other way.
Right. That, I thank you for that, because
sine wave
ends in a boom or ends in a fizzle. You just gave a reference to the more accurate scientific term, because what you described is one of the three major theories, and that is known as the Big Crunch. Thank you for bringing that up.
Crunch. So what if
where it all
we're in a
goes back to its point of origin?
We're in a sine wave, and we're starting to get to the crest and to the peak, the amplitude, and then we're going into a crunch mode, and so it's always going up and down like a sine wave, like a roller coaster.
Except
adds another meaning to I can see stars.
You're familiar with the hockey stick on a curve? like if it's traveling along and then it goes up,
Slope.
we're actually on the upward bound. The
Oh,
universe is
oh, it's,
the observational data tells us that the rate of expansion is actually increasing.
oh,
So
so
we're
we're going
still
faster.
down here and then moving up here.
Oh, so
We're at the beginning of this
we
part.
we won't see a decrease in expansion for a while.
Well, we don't know. That's why we don't know what the end of the universe will be. Will it tear
Oh,
itself apart, or will it big crunch, or will it
that we
just all
could.
end in heat death?
Can we forecast that it, it's not anytime soon, 10 billion years from now, that it will start changing directions or rate?
The Christians,
Or maybe more,
thanks
20
to
billion.
Wilberforce, in the 5th verse of Amazing Grace, it's when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we have no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
Wow, 10,000 years in Amazing Grace?
Yes,
That number is pretty huge.
yes.
It's older than what could be calculated as the beginning with the 6 and 7 days of Genesis. They
Yes, if you're a young Earth
about
creationist and
6,000
you're
years.
basing things off of
So,
they're young Earth creationists, they're old Earth creationists, they're intelligent designers. Um,
mm,
Genesis covers a span of time longer than the whole rest of all the other books. We don't know how far back it goes, except that it's supposed to be descriptive in that narrative
mm,
of the entire process, which has led to up until the conclusion of Genesis, which is Abraham
maybe
looking out the 50th chapter
each day of creation is a day of Brahma.
of Brahma or Brahma.
Brahma?
Yes, right. Yes, that's right. Yeah, and how long? Because again,
Months.
in the OT, there's the idea of one day in the day of in a day of Brahma could be counted as 1,000 years to man.
No, it's more like millions, maybe billions.
Yeah, well, that's the point too. The actual word in the Hebrew, in the ancient Hebrew, it just says cycle. We don't know how long the aeon.
Day and night.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, they talk about that somewhere maybe in one of Blavatsky's books. In other places, I guess he gets a lot of it from Hindu mythology, or
Adam
mythology,
Blonsky,
not mythology.
have you
Maybe
been to one of the
not mythology,
Theosophists meetings in
revelation.
person yet, Hyro?
Mhm.
Or you only attended via Zoom?
Through Zoom.
Through Zoom,
Yeah,
okay.
the ones I go to, looks like they're from in San Diego, and some are headquartered in New York, and some in Philadelphia.
Those are the
Yeah,
online
but
ones.
yeah, they used to be independent centers, but after the pandemic, they kind of recognized each other and say, hey, let's create Zoom meetings amongst each other, and so there's people from all over the states going to one Zoom meeting. There's one sect of theosophy that's called ULT, United Lodge of Theosophy,
Okay.
and then another sect might be called something else. But the ULT, they have like a declaration at the beginning of their meetings,
Cool.
and it's like like a declaration saying that we're not going to be sectarian, that we're going to maintain the principles and not bring up alter al- alternative
Right. So
ideas
they
that are opposed to the founders or the main teachers of theosophy, like Blavatsky and two other people.
right. Yeah, they're the self-declared orthodox of theosophy.
And Yes, they're trying to maintain the teachings pure, so maybe they won't allow any opposing views or new works. They study the principal works, the canon of the.
Yeah, the reason why I asked because there are actual living theosophist societies and groups who have persistent for decades here in the state of Florida.
Maybe I should go find them.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Oh, one of
Because
them
when you meet in person, you get a little
in
bit more.
Tampa. One of the ladies, her name is Shoba. She's from India, and
Okay.
and and she's been around a long time in theosophy, and she lives in Tampa. I could go
We met
visit
a
her.
guy one day too who grew up in it. So from a young age, he was introduced to the ideas, and he's lived in Florida all of his life, and he's in his 50s or 60s now.
Mhm. Mhm.
For if you're not familiar, Akshat, with theosophy, Madame Blavatsky and a couple other fellas, they started this cult in the 19th century, and one of their ends that they declared for themselves was to steer the evolution of humanity. And they were using all the science of their time, primarily eugenics. Like they wanted to actually shape. There are probably some interesting ties between theosophy and transhumanism. In fact, I would argue that transhumanism was actually birthed in theosophy. Not as the whole. Not all the ideas of transhumanism come from that system of belief, but I would say a major chord of that movement would have been started in the 19th century, if not longer.
They have presentations every Saturday and Sunday, and one of them was by Shoba, the Indian lady, and it's centered around that there's a core un, human religion, or there's a root to all the other religions,
Right.
and so theosophy is trying to dig it up and bring it to light that it's the core of all the other religions, something like that. So
Yeah.
but then I asked the question to Shoba that but why is theosophy so focused only on what comes from Hinduism and some Buddhism, like Tibetan Buddhism, and because supposedly Helen Blavatsky was not in Tibet, but outside of it, maybe Ladakh, and maybe with llamas, and maybe she connected with a spirit that is a Tibetan lama, and so she got ideas from that spirit and things like that. And so I asked her why is it so you say from India, and there's very little from, well, maybe there's some from all the others too, but very little from Islam, and so he says, well, she doesn't know as much about Islam, but it's
Right.
but Blavatsky talks about Islam a little bit.
Yeah, she originated from Eastern Europe, as I recall. I'm not sure which country, uh, or what city or town. And
Probably
I think one of the
Ukraine.
two guys was American, if I recall properly. So she immigrated to the United States sometime, maybe in the 1870s or 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yes, and in a short time, with help from some she founded the society.
Right. I wonder how they all
Growing.
support themselves. Was it through donations, or do they have a? Was she a dressmaker? What you know? When you
Oh,
study
man.
the money of the matter, you tend to learn another aspect of the movement. I think.
Mm. Hmm. Yes, there's another several women they're kind of pioneers. There's Alice Bailey, and there's another one. Hmm,
And what did Alice Bailey pioneer?
Around that time,
Okay.
maybe she's not considered part of the Theosophical Society, but she was writing along those lines. And I think she also contacted some Tibetan spirit or something. And who's the Annie Besant, and there's another one, Annie Besant. I got a book by her called Esoteric Christianity. Hmm. Hmm.
There was also Myrtle
Oh, and
Fillmore. Myrtle and Charles Fillmore together, they founded the Unity Church. That was 1889. It grew out of Transcendentalism. It became part of the New Thought movement.
Harold, you mentioned the Theosophical Society, and they have their meetings on Saturdays. Do you have a link for them, or like, is it on Meetup or is it on YouTube? Where are they?
hmm. Oh,
The ones that you go to?
they don't have anything on Meetup. Somehow I found them. Maybe maybe they have a website that where they supply materials like the books online and or in PDF form, or they can buy them. Hmm. Let's see. So I will go to my mailbox. Mail? Hmm. Why is it male? Why isn't it female? Female box. Oh, that's a different word. Then I will look for maybe enter the word theosophy or
Because
theo.
males are slow, right? Snail mail.
Hmm. Yes, I think they have one today at 7-ish, 7:30-ish Eastern time.
Oh,
Hmm.
nice. Could you kindly put that in the chat so I can see if I
Oh,
can make it? Thanks.
aha. It says, friends, please join us Saturday, November 29th. Oh, that would be today for an Aquarian series presentation on the expansive topic of the dodecahedron, followed by a discussion starting at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, which means it's 7:30 p.m. for us Eastern timers. Our meeting is hosted online and in person at the San Diego United Lodge of Theosophy. Fists. All meetings are free and open to the public. Yay! And here's I will copy and paste the Zoom meeting.
Thank you.
Oh, it
Appreciate that.
doesn't even have a
Password?
passcode.
Nice.
So it's like
So
I
it's
go.
probably like it's probably like the Rosicrucian meetups. They usually do them on Wednesday every Wednesday at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time.
So is the dodecahedron. We find that Plato stated distinctly that everything and eternal will, and after its fashion. our our what? Our the eternal pattern of the ideal world hmm, con- contains geometric models used by the deity. What? Oh, that was the image. Oh, we find Plato stating distinctly that everything visible was created or evolved out of the invisible and eternal will. Will. All capitalized. And after its fashion. Our heaven, he says, was produced according to the eternal pattern of the ideal world contained, like everything else, in the dodecahedron. Yay! The geometrical model used by the deity. Mhm. Mm. Plato considered the dodecahedron to be the culmination of the hierarchy of five solids, alluding to a growth or development
associated with the four elements plus ether, AETHER. Thus, the dodecahedron contains all the other elements, framing, as Timaeus described, one visible animal comprehending within itself all the other animals, while remaining more fiery than anything else. Interesting. I will post the link in the chat. Don't go away. We'll be right back. I can't. Here, okay, here. I'm back in the Zoom. I go into chat and then go right click or hold my finger on here and then paste. There we go. Link to join the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you so much. And this is the one I was looking for. This is the Rosicrucian one that they do every Wednesdays Eastern Standard Time.
They have.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you've been to.
I put that in chat as well.
Oh, so you may.
You're breaking up a bit.
Having some the regular.
We can't hear you clearly. You're breaking up. I think
you are breaking up. So, Akshat, if you would give us at least one of the takeaways that you've drawn from having attended the Rosicrucian Zooms.
I got a coat.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty good. It's like there's I would say they're mystics, right? Mystics is a little bit different than occultism.
Right.
And I mean, they have so many different concepts. They usually talk about lights and sound, which is similar to the Eckankar group as well. So that would be one of the main things I would say about that. And obviously you have the Rosy Cross, right? Which is, and it's pretty heavy on this concept of transformation and transmuting.
Yes.
The fires below to the levels higher up, similar to like Kundalini rising. It's ironic that people think of Kundalini rising as something sexual, but it's not. It's actually it's the process of transmutation that occurs from the lower level chakras to the higher ones.
Yes.
And I think it's like an amplification process, right? Like you can use a tool which is let's say a flathead screwdriver, but then if you add leverage to that, it gets even stronger. So maybe people should view, I think, Kundalini awakening, or it's not awakening, it's always happening. It's just a question of rate of change that happens. So yeah, that's how I view it.
Well, if I recall correctly, Kundalini has 158 forms, only 3 of which have a sexual component.
I didn't know that. That's good to know.
What if Kundalini is is related to all our glands, or like the pineal gland, this gland, and that gland, and the what is it called? Those centers of neurons. What are they called?
Well, doesn't it originally? Kundalini, if taken from a physiological perspective, doesn't it start with from the base of the spine?
But yes, and physiologically, what is that? What neurons or ganglions or centers of little brains, sub brains. What's going on there? What could be going on there?
What is going on there?
I guess those are maybe sub control centers. Like maybe there's one to control the heartbeat, and maybe there's one to control digestion.
Well, it's built into the systems, right?
And then there's what is it? What are those things that come out of glands? Hormones?
Yes.
They affect our thinking.
Our mood, yes.
Mhm.
Our ability to even move at times.
Mhm. And then what happens when we breathe? We inhale and we take in oxygen and we release mm, what is it? Carbon
Carbon dioxide,
dioxide
right?
and,
Yeah.
maybe nitrogen, maybe things like that.
Well,
We
we,
exhale
we
that.
we
See the
release much of
plants.
the same air that we breathe in, but we
The
add
plants.
the carbon from our
And
metabolism releases it.
the plants take in the carbon dioxide.
Right.
So does that mean that they need us as much as we need them?
Right. The way
If
we
there were
actually
no
lose weight
animals,
is we exhale it, and then they're inhaling it.
mm,
As we get smaller, the trees get larger.
there's a meditation from Tibetan Buddhism. It came over from India through Atisha, a guy from Bengali area, Bangladesh area. Oh, when it was, yeah. Oh, well, he became a monk in some famous monastic institute, and he became very popular, like the top professor. If monastic institutes were like universities, and so the king of Tibet wanted the top professor recruited to Tibet to teach Tibetans. So he got Atisha, and Atisha taught hmm, taking and giving, taking and giving, and other things. So, so when you take in air, you imagine that you're taking on the karma of everyone else. And then when you give, you exhale and you're giving back. What are you giving back? Light, spiritual light, joy. and this practice will help you to wake up and think clearly. So I will breathe in all the negativity. I will breathe in your cough. I will take on the karma that caused you to get sick. Okay. Now
That's
I will
interesting because that brings up
burn the
this
karma.
concept.
Then I will
It,
exhale, give light back to Rami.
Thank you. Thank you, Hiro. Go ahead, Abhishek. I'm sorry.
yeah, no,
Akshay.
yeah, it's all good. No worries. Yeah, no, Harold, that was a good point you mentioned, and it reminds me of this concept of miasma, right? Like in the olden times when I guess industrial age or before that, people had this concept that bad smells bring bad illnesses. So people
Mm.
tried to purify the air with smells and all. And it's also interesting because two out of the three gifts that the wise man gave to Jesus was
Frankincense,
essence.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
frankincense and myrrh.
Right.
So
Yes.
it's very fascinating
and
that how that
parsley,
relates to the yeah.
rosemary, and thyme. Oh, and gold.
I once host, once
Are
hosted
you
an
going to
in-person meetup in Winter
Scarborough
Park.
Fair?
What are you singing or humming, Hiro?
Parsley, sage,
Oh, okay.
rosemary,
Yes.
and thyme.
Yes. Yes. Good reference from Paul Simon.
I
That's
would
right.
wish to learn. I wish to learn. What is it? Oh, all those arts of herbs and spices.
I'll,
This
I, I'll,
morning,
uh, I'll
this
pop
morning
a
I
video
drank
from Tech
some.
Ingredients for you.
This morning I drank some warm water and I added cayenne pepper and some cinnamon and some turmeric and some garlic. Well, grounded all in lime juice, and yes, and I drank that as my breakfast.
That's pretty good because
Nice.
I actually just did something similar yesterday where I took lime
Oh,
or lemon with
I added apple
basil.
cider.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't add apple cider, but I had basil or basil
Wow.
lime, and I think it was nutmeg. But it's interesting
Whoa.
because you can make. I was looking up recipes for water infusion, and people have different things like blueberries or strawberries and kiwis and stuff like that. But
Mm.
yeah, some people were having like herbs mixed in as well with the water along with some spices. And it's very weird feeling that I got. I don't know if it's psychological, but I felt very cold after drinking it. It's like my core temperature dropped drastically. So I was
Wow.
thinking of trying it in summertime for actual verification because in wintertime it could just be the cold wind too.
Right.
Yeah, thanks.
It made you
Yeah, that's a
cold.
great idea. I'm glad that you're operating in the process of creating tests in order to disprove your own hypotheses. It's the way to
Mm.
go.
Yeah, I
Wow.
think everyone should do that and then share their findings, and then we could do like our own quote unquote clinical trials, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Citizen science, yes.
Mhm. And submit a
What's her
paper.
name? There's a woman who has been talking. I'll have to look up her name. She is a YouTuber, particle physicist, and one
Wow.
of her videos discussed uh, the the kind of formation of not alternate science but underground science. In other words, a lot of the science community, enough of people have woken up to the fact that so much of science has been corrupted that they're trying to get back to the core principles in order to conduct actual science again, and they're calling it sort of underground science. But really, it's just
Wow.
orthodox application of the
No.
principles that most of us would have learned prior to, um, I guess, the overtaking of the scientific process by the political process.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, I always found science as the dirty word after that. I mean, I'm not making a gist of it, but literally M95 has the percentage of what air it basically blocks. It's literally in the name of the mass, 95%. So
Yeah,
yeah, for someone to
yeah.
say it blocks everything 100%, it's just okay.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe I got statistics. I did fail my first statistics course. Had to redo it again. I got a C minus. So
okay,
maybe I'm
good.
wrong.
Hey, you beat my D. I had jury duty like the first or second day of statistics where they covered the definition of P, of probability. So I spent the rest of the course trying to grok what P meant while learning everything else at the same time. So it greatly impacted my learning process. But one of the things
If
I
I'm not
do, go on.
Yeah, thanks. If I'm not mistaken, there's actually a millennium problem that gives you like $1 million for math prize for something with P and N trying to
Yeah,
prove something.
P equals
Yeah.
infinite.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
is what
Yeah.
is M95?
Oh, it's the mask that science was saying is the best mask available on the market to protect your lungs from like
Oh, I okay.
virulent
So
things. Yeah.
yeah, there's also
Oh, oh,
a
okay.
group that sells N100. I don't know that the N95 relates specifically to the
Mm.
amount of
Mm.
filtration in terms of probability for a given um, uh, diameter, because those masks have holes, and it's supposed to be a measure of the amount that will be blocked of a given particular particulate size.
Right, but assuming if all your masks had the same pore size or filter size, whatever nanometers it is, then
Um,
you would add in the percentage it can block, right? I think that's
True,
what it's
true.
referring to.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Okay,
and
yeah,
and
I guess it would.
and the seal is the most important thing people forget to keep in
Right.
mind is that even if you had 100 that you were mentioning, if you have a bad seal, it completely defeats the purpose. Hence, anyone with facial hair is automatically at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I know.
That includes postmenopausal women, in case
Yeah,
anyone is wondering.
yeah, yeah. And the women who are going through perimenopause, which is the process the reproductive system shutting down. That's like a time of madness, I think, because talk about going through transformation and change. Suddenly, you're imagine going from being able to host and reproduce our own species, and then that time shutting down, and it's a process. And not only that, just think about what it does to the psychology. You can go 364 days without a period, and then on the 365th day, have a period, and you're like, oh shit, I still have to think about whether or not to have sex again because I could still conceive a child. So I mean, it's like nature plays a game on the mind of the woman
Mm.
and also of the man, if you're married, for instance, because the woman in that period of time will be like still want to have sex because the drive to reproduce is strong in both genders. So she'll spend from morning to bed teasing and flirting her husband, and then once they're in bed, you know, somehow it's only then that the logic comes into play. Wait a moment, I'm old. It doesn't make sense. We don't have the energy to raise another child. I decide I don't want sex after all. After spending the entire day of giving put-ons, that is what it's like to be married in your 40s.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you got to live with that. It's enough to drive both people a little bit nuts.
Mm.
But it's nature. What are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm. So this is a conspiracy of nature. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to keep our species propagated.
Mm-hmm. So if one did remember one's past life, what effect would that have on the present life? Would it make one more compassionate? Would it make one more, oh my gosh, this is a scam that we're in?
Potentially.
I gotta get out.
I don't
Because
know if
I
that's the case.
remember all these past lives, and when you remember a past life, you would I don't know how much of it you would need to remember. Maybe you would remember the worst parts of it. Maybe you wouldn't care about the joyful parts because maybe it's boring or it doesn't get recorded as deeply. So you remember all the traumas of past lives, and you end up saying, "This is horrible. I want to get out of this mess. How do I get
So
out?"
I think it's a very interesting question you pose, Zaro, and for me, I think it would depend on the person how they're currently living their present life. There's this big factor of initial condition because if one person cannot process past experiences or take them as lessons, then that would become an issue. So one should question, okay, how do I as a person right now deal with my past? Do I take it as a thing where I can learn? Do I take it as a thing that I keep causing trauma for myself, or do I use that to appreciate myself relative to where I am right now? Because I think, as you mentioned, it's kind of similar to what you said. It's those three concepts could be either of those three, but I think it would come down to how you currently, process your current past. But then it also, I think, would play on this factor of consciousness. Like it would probably elevate consciousness as well, whether it's good or bad, like either way, because there would be at least one past life where you would have done a better job than all your other past lives. But then the real big question is, what if someone has no past lives and this is their
Then
first life?
Right.
what if in this life you remember a trauma of when you were 3 or 4 or 5 years old, that when you underwent it, you decided to bury it, and maybe the adults told you, don't let anyone know about it. Maybe you kept it a while, but it was driving you crazy, so you buried it and forgot about it.
Yeah, what
But
does that
then
do
it's still
to the
affecting
memory?
you as an adult. Maybe you have trust issues or whatever.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So if you bring up the trauma, would that help your present condition? Would it say, oh, okay, now I understand why I act this way?
Mhm. Mm. Yeah, it's a great question. I don't, that's there are people who've gone through workshops where they come at one point they're crying because those hardly ever addressed traumas are suddenly brought forth, brought to light, and are held and are healed, and they come out in tears from the process.
Mm.
I think a lot of
Wow.
people would, at least they would recommend such a workshop for others because of, um,
Mm. Mm.
how, it's a
Mm.
great question, the question of what holds us back.
Mm. Yeah.
I have another way of addressing that question, but I don't think
Mm.
it's as important as maybe the one that was just brought up that you brought up, Hyro.
Mm.
But let me share it anyway. A concert pianist goes to Italy and performs. At the end of the performance, the crowd goes, "Bravo, bravo, encore, encore." Maybe they don't say it bravo, but they say encore. And so the pianist gives an encore. And then the end of the encore, the audience goes, "Encore, encore." So the pianist gives another encore, like a variation of the same work. And then the audience goes, "Encore." And the pianist is like, I mean, how, and the audience, one of the members stands up from the crowd and goes, "Look, we're going to make you keep doing it until you get it right."
That is pretty funny because the person was thinking they're doing a great job. I guess you could call that positive reinforcement, right?
Yes, yes. So much of if you're a parent, then your job is to create the space to enable the child to practice. And that's what I feel that this place is. Like the earth is a sandbox um, for our practice, for the development of us, so that the next set of us will have a new earth and a new heaven. Because
Mm.
if heaven is the ideal and earth is the actual, you actually would have to be revising both your concept of the ideal in order to get to an even better actual. Both are change.
Mm.
But they
And
but they would converge at some point, right? Like over
Yeah,
time, given enough cycles, the end
yeah,
state they
mm.
would almost be similar. The question is,
yeah.
what if after doing all this hard work, my heaven is just the same?
Well, but you would probably view it differently.
Fair enough.
Wow. So that is our mission to understand. No, maybe not understand. Maybe to be aware of our mm, our earthly environment and to strive for a heavenly place on earth. Hmm. Mm. How do we do that? Will religions or have religions helped? Perhaps they have. And what other tools can we use? Psychology, mm, history, mathematics, science, artificial intelligence. Will that save us or destroy us?
Well, a lot of what it is at this point is a straw man but it's not going away. So we have to deal with, cope with, learn to master, and to remain, if not in a state of it being in alignment with us, because I know that technology has its own motive. It may be an emergent motive, but it's a motive nonetheless, and that motive is efficiency. Now it's actually more efficient to modify mankind by making it less intelligent in order to achieve the clever illusion that it is more intelligent than it would be to create because the hard limit's already been found using our present technology, our present theory of the one that what is it? Something is all you need. I forget the name of that paper from which all LLMs stem from. But the theory has found its limits already, or at least the people who, and that's why they've been developing data centers at scale, because they're just trying to brute force and throw more electricity and transistors into the problem in order to fit the scale. But even then, there comes a point where under the working theory, it doesn't matter if you throw infinite energy and infinite transistors, more so than the Earth can provide, you would, and the sun, then you would still come across that, come to that ceiling, because there's unless someone's come up with a new theory by now, or published the paper, there's only so far you can go. What can we do as human beings to keep ourselves from becoming less intelligent, so as to enable those who own the data centers from dumbing us down, so that the transfer of the locus of control doesn't go from humanity to the machinery?
I think one thing one could do is at least try to remember 5 phone numbers of the people that you normally should be calling.
Yes, good point. I like that. That's a good practical. Jeez, to start memorizing phone numbers again.
What I
Like
do
90s
memorize,
old.
what I do memorize these days is not phone numbers, but passwords.
Right,
And
yes.
a master password with LastPass. Mm.
Yes, that way you only have to forget one password.
Actually, that gave me an idea. You could start with one password, then use cryptography to make other passwords. So theoretically, you have infinite number of passwords using one password, or maybe a key.
What I use is a non-English word, a Sanskrit word, and followed by a number like 10. When I have to change the password, I move it up to 11 and so on, and then followed by
So what you're
the @
doing,
sign, followed by a few letters of the website. Like if it's Wells Fargo, I might put WF.
okay. So you've got a methodology.
And then that way, I can remember the passwords, and I say, "Oh, okay, this website is let's see, Dairyland." So maybe I use DL for the password. Okay, so I try the scheme, and then, oh yes, I got it right. I remembered it right. Or if it doesn't work, oh, maybe I changed the number 10 to 11. Oh, okay. One time I got to 21. I said, "Oh, this is getting too big," so I just changed the @ symbol to number. So now I go back to 10 number and then the 2 or 3 letters of the website.
How
I
many
can go through.
are there still existing out there 3 cell phones in your name, Harold?
Yes, and I have 3 cell phones, and this is the one I use most. It's the Samsung S23 Ultra with a pencil in its underneath so I can write, but I
Right.
don't use it too much.
Yeah.
And then I got an iPhone 15, and then I
Oh.
got a Motorola Razr, like a flip phone
Oh, nice.
for the other phones.
Well, you handed one to a woman, right?
And a friend has two. Now she's down to one, and now she's getting ported to T-Mobile, but she's having a hard time. She got the wrong phone ported in or temporarily because my phone, that phone that she wants to use is paid off, and it's also a S23 Ultra, and but they couldn't, or they found it still locked, so I had to wait. If maybe it's ready for porting now. They have to wait 48 hours for it to be fully unlocked or something. But iPhones are
Yeah,
quicker. So she got iPhone on her phone number, but she doesn't like that one. But
Akshat?
a little trick that you can apply is in Canada they don't have locked phones anymore, so all phones have to be legally sold unlocked. So if you ever wanted to, you could technically go across the border and pick one up, or like buy one online and ship it to yourself. That way you
wow.
don't have to deal with that ever again.
Nice. Thank you for that. I wonder if there are countries where the phones can only be locked.
I think locking down is this process of locking a phone to a particular carrier, right? So that way you can't take your
Yes.
phone or service to another carrier. But
Yeah,
but in
that's
those
true.
situations where you do have countries that lock things down, you could theoretically, again, money is not an object, buy one phone from every company and you could switch services whenever you wanted to. But then
Mm.
again, the new thing that's happening, which I'm getting affected with because I don't have a phone number now, starting in August of this year,
Wow.
is they are
Congratulations.
shutting down they're shutting down all the 3G towers, so-called 3G towers,
Right.
and
Wow.
they're forcing people to go to 5G or VoTE, and it's basically where your old phones, even though they were working perfectly fine, they stop
Mhm,
functioning.
mhm,
And they're
Right.
trying to get rid of SIM cards as well, which is
mhm.
also kind of scary because they want people with newer devices that can use eSIMs.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
that's
that's
what
kind
has
of what's
happened.
happening in Canada.
I think I'm using eSIM. I have a slot for a physical SIM and an eSIM slot or eSIM position, and I think I'm using the eSIM right now. It's working good. 5G plus. Hmm. With AT&T. I'm hoping T-Mobile is good. Well, maybe it covers more, but I'm hoping it's good signal for hotspot where she's at.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll move to T-Mobile too.
Yeah, there used
Yeah.
to be a 7-Eleven plan too that was super cheap for prepaid. Apparently, it was $35 for the whole year, which is amazing.
Wow.
Especially helpful for
Wow.
people that use phones only for emergencies, right? Like,
Right. Yes.
Mm,
this push is kind of making it unfair for people that don't want to use phone services, but keep it
mm,
as an emergency backup. Now it's
mm.
forcing people to get a minimum $30 or $20 plan,
Oh no.
just to keep it. So it's almost like a greed push, and it's unfortunate that CRTC, which is like our version of FCC, doesn't have much say on it. Yeah,
Wow.
Now
Mm.
you're saying it's fortunate that they don't have much say on it.
unfortunate.
Oh,
Unfortunate. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
well, the
Mm.
FCC doesn't have much say in terms of managing the industry. It was designated to regulate because they set. No, I could be confusing it with the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. I apologize. Yeah, that's what I did. I confused the Federal Telecommunications. No, FCC with the FTC. So apologies.
Mm.
Uh, there was a rule that made uh, non-compete clauses null and void nationwide here in the United States. But in this year, it's a dead letter regulation now because Well, essentially because the corporations who want to be able to enforce non-competes won. They took over, I suppose, in a similar way. And that's the trouble. You have so much money that's put into building out these networks, and then folks, either bureaucracies, commissions, agencies, or the people themselves, they can come up and say, "Well, wait, we don't want these things." Doesn't matter. The investment money has already been, or the money's already been invested. It's already been spent. You're getting it whether you want it or not. And now we live in this world that that's changed
I
whether
totally
we want it to change. Yeah.
Yeah, Revsy. No, what you mentioned is fascinating because it got me thinking about this idea. I was like, and I do have a telecommunication background, so
Okay.
it's ironic. I kind of anyway. So I won't get into that part. But what I wanted to say is one thing I could imagine or envision is that back in the day, it makes sense that you would have to have more cell towers and different frequency bands and stuff because technology couldn't support 1,000 volts on a particular carrier frequency or whatever, right? But now with 5G,
Yes.
you can infinitesimally make your
Wow.
band so narrow that you can have more people on it. So now I
Right.
think it would make more logical sense for all companies or all telco companies to pool their resources, build one physical structure, like invest as a team, and then just use the same frequency band. That means they don't have to worry about trade-off or handovers and stuff like that, which is the process where a device of a customer is going through the road and it now has to ping off another tower, right? Because it's
Right,
now
yeah.
closer in proximity to the other. But by
Right.
doing that, they could just implement in the software something which would basically allocate rates based on which tower they're pinging to. And to make it fair, if they all pool resources, then they don't have to invest in double the cost and have extra wires running around and extra antennas.
Yeah.
It would also make it, I guess, environmentally friendly by doing that, because that's what companies that are, that I think it's called shared services or something, where they kind of piggyback off the major telco companies do.
Right. Yes.
So they could do that amongst themselves. So that was my kind of thought
Yes.
process. Thanks.
Well, that's I got three responses to that. Resilience perhaps goes down. We've got three carriers in my little city that I live in North Central Florida. I think if you have a family tree, why not put each family member on a different company? Just because if one of the sets of equipment or networks goes down, you still have two working phones in the family. Now you lose the bundle economic advantage if you do that. But if they're in competition with each other, they ought to be able to offer something at least somewhat close for one plan per, like a single minimal use per network. But the second point, or maybe the first that came to mind, was the concept of the natural monopoly. And I'll shift from the idea of frequency to, and it's the spread of spectrum, to the let's say the ambulance service. If you are an automobile accident, you might not even be conscious to do comparative price shopping. Okay, the ambulance has to be dispatched to pick up your body and deliver it in the most efficient means possible, while perhaps providing some triage care to get you into the emergency room. That's generally referred to as a natural monopoly because you tend to have, for a very large city, there may be two or three servicing different regions or sectors of a large city or metropolitan area. But for a small city, for instance, where there is one company that manages all the ambulances for all the people in the given region, because of the nature of the kind of a product or service that that would be required to fulfill that portion of the market. Now, if there is such a thing as a natural monopoly, and this is essentially why we have states or provinces or countries. The government generally will tend to claim the right to a monopoly on violence. Okay, it's like, I can kill you. I, the government, can kill you. Okay, but you cannot kill anyone else. And that is the basis of law and order. Okay. Now, if you have a natural monopoly, and the government can kill you, then you run into the problem of sovereignty. So I imagine our new friend here from Canada, or new to me, the two of you have spoken with one another. Is he ultimately a subject of King Charles III? If you go up high
I
enough?
believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but you and I, Jairo, here as citizens of the state of Florida, are we subjects unto ourselves? And then that brings up the another idea, which is the question of what is it that we owe ourselves and others. I mean, besides being pro-social, if we're able to do that. I think it was Sartre towards the end of World War II in a cafe. He wrote this line, and I think the line was something like, "We are fated to be free." Let's take that idea and expand it out to try to make it universal. Let's universalize it for a moment. If we are fated to be free, what does that mean? And how is it, if that is the case, that we align ourselves to that process so that we get there sooner, so that we can focus on other things faster? There's a fellow here in Central Florida, Akshat, who ran. He's part of the same riding as Justin Trudeau. And for the fun of it, for the heck of it, he ran against Trudeau so that he would get to know his neighbors a little bit better, because it was a good time. Why not? And of course, Trudeau took the riding. And who's your current prime minister?
McCartney.
McCartney. So after losing that race, and during the pandemic, and getting sick of how everything was managed earlier this decade there in your country, he moved to Central Florida and started 2 or 3 meetups, or took over one of them at least. And he spent quite a bit of time together. But he's now married with a lady of Chinese descent living in Apopka, Florida, not too far from where our friend Jairo is walking right now, and where I was driving yesterday.
Wow.
Just
Do I know him, or am I heard of his meetups?
He did for a while. He took over. He was like the 3rd or 4th organizer to the Jordan Peterson meetup in our area, Jairo. And before that, before he took over that group, he was the he set up one for the ARC, that organization, Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, that Peterson and Philippia, I forget her last name. She was an English duchess, had set up, where they were trying to come up with a system, an alternative to the World Economic Forum, in terms of providing a different vision for the way civilization or humanity, or quote unquote the West, ought to go. Yeah. Christian Boutier. He comes from Amos, Quebec.
Wow.
Yeah.
Christian Boutier. Can you type it in the chat?
Boutin. You can find him on Facebook.
Bouti.
Yeah, I'm probably not pronouncing the end of his name exactly correct, but
Boutin.
You'll find him online on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Mm. And I was thinking
Oh,
of
he's on IMDb. How about that?
IMDb, the movie,
Yeah.
documentary.
First image came up on the Internet Movie Database. I wonder what he featured in. He was working for a while for the company who makes Unity.
Hmm.
Looks like he was a writer and did additional crew. Construction Bob, Escapes from Hell, 1995, Babylon Park, Fright Space, 1999,
Wow.
and the Pentelis Podcast, 2016.
Hmm.
Construction Bob, that was a good movie.
Okay. I've never seen it.
I think it has to do with sausages and ham or something, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while. Maybe I'm thinking of Wreck-It Ralph. Okay, sorry, I'm mistaking the movie with Wreck-It Ralph.
Hmm. Wow.
I think it's animated or CGI film. Yeah,
How
like
do,
similar to like Pixar.
how do you spell Boutier?
Yeah, he did help Boutin. I popped a link into the maybe it's Boutin.
Boutin?
Boutin. I'm
Wow.
not a native French speaker. I only took 2 years high school.
Wow. He's famous.
Even the we had our 30th anniversary this past summer from the high school that we graduated from, and even the son of two French speakers, where his own mother was a native French speaker. He could read and write it perfectly fine, but he still couldn't speak French correctly.
Wow. Hmm. Maybe I should learn French too.
Our friend Mike Taylor has noted the impact and the history of France upon the world.
Wow. The
Yeah.
French and the British were pretty competitive in trying to colonize the world.
And each other. Can't forget each other.
There's a guy named Napoleon. He was going to take 40,000 troops to take over Egypt and then use that as a base to take over things east of that and take India away from the British that were about to take over it with the East India Company. So the British got word of that, so they hurried to make sure that India was secure for their East India Trade Company to make lots of money from India. I was listening to a book on that called what is it called? The something game. The game. The big game? No. Oh wow. The game of the empires. No, that's not the title of it, but it had the word game in it.
Napoleon said there are only two forces in the world, the sword and the spirit. In the long run, the sword will always be conquered by the spirit.
Wow. See you later. Conquered by the spirit. Wow. And the Buddha was able to conquer India with the spirit. Well,
Did he?
they had a king, India, that sort of inherited King Ashoka, I guess he inherited a little portion of an of a empire of India, but he expanded it and made the land of India almost as big as it is now, but including the regions of Pakistan and Bangladesh, and maybe into Afghanistan. Wow, King Ashoka, and he turned Buddhist, and tried to make to govern in a Buddhist way.
What does that mean?
Or maybe promote Buddhism, but not force people into. Or in other words, did not force people to become Buddhist, but did promote it with putting monuments all over India. But they I guess you could call them stupas. Yes. So they found the inscriptions of the time of Ashoka, and the archaeologists deciphered them. Yes, they say yes, this was from the time of Ashoka, maybe 200 BC, around there. But then, how did Buddhism spread to the rest of Asia? Why did Buddhism spread and not Hinduism? Perhaps because the Hindus were not interested in spreading well, they were interested in commerce. There is like Hindu culture in Indonesia, or there was in Sumatra. Wow. There was some Buddhism in Sumatra because there was Atisha, the monk, was it from the 10th century? Yeah, he traveled all the way to Sumatra to get teachings from a Buddhist guru or something to learn about compassion, and he brought it back. To learn about taking and giving. That practice of inhaling all the negative karma from everyone and exhaling pure spiritual light and joy for everyone. No,
Do
at
you
least for
think
the
that the
plant.
people Do you think that the people who inhale all the negative karma do you think that there might be times where they may become where it becomes like involuntary for them? Where whether they want to or not, they're going to be inhaling negative karma, and that they might grow to resent the world as a result of all the negative karma that they are being handed. Do you think that we maybe owe it to such to work out our own salvation? In other words, to find the parts that are keeping us from addressing the perhaps our behaviors that are polluting our local environments.
Perhaps we are antennas. I wonder what kind of energy is used. Instead of electromagnetic energy, it's another subtler kind of energy. So we're doing telepathic kind of things with each other. So when we take in the negative karma, we are taking in the negative vibes of everyone. So what does that? How can it affect us? How does it affect us? Oh,
good question.
It causes a little bit of anxiety, maybe, and a little bit of depression, and a little bit of compassion. Yes. Oh,
What if
maybe.
what if we don't have room in ourselves to be compassionate for others? And yet it just keeps coming, and then the anxiety builds over time, and the depression builds over time, and then that becomes the majority of your experience.
With each cell, there's the mitochondria. So it transmutes through alchemy all the negativity. It's transformed into positive energy and light, spiritual light,
Hopefully.
and
So
it
you're saying
gets
some.
picked up through the nervous system, goes to
Uh-huh.
our chakras,
Yes.
and so our heart chakra expands and opens up with
So you're
great
saying
compassion for all sentient beings.
it would be possible to thrive off of negative energy.
Oh, yes, we use it like mud is used by the lotus flower. It's in the
Okay,
pond,
very
and
good. Very good.
it transforms this the swamp. Yes, instead of draining the swamp,
Nice.
we should use the swamp itself and transform it
That's right. That's all we
into.
need to do. We need to do these flights where we're just seeding DC with lotus spores or seeds and turn the entire city into a
Yes.
lotus, a field of lotuses, and then that's how the world will be better.
There's a story
And then
about.
some other nation can rise up and
Mm, yes, Ananda, Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is truth or existence, and Chit is the mind, or consciousness, and Anand is joy, bliss. So, oh, there's that reminded me of Ananda, the assistant of the Buddha. He was his cousin. So he joined the Buddhist army, spiritual army,
yes.
when he was 37 years old. And when he was 55, he got a new position in the army to be the Buddha's assistant for the rest of their lives. But after the Buddha died, Ananda had not attained enlightenment or a certain level of realization. But meanwhile, all the other monks, all his fellow monks, had attained a certain level where they got together in the council and tried to figure out, okay, now what are we going to do? How will we remember all the teachings of the Buddha? Maybe we could write them down or something.
Well, that
Well,
became the Sutta
Ananda was the
Pitaka.
only one who was with the Buddha all the time, so maybe he can remember all the teachings because the Buddha was on tour, like a concert, and maybe he could remember. Oh, this in this concert, I'm going to talk about this and that and that. Okay, maybe Ananda was his secretary, and he was writing down notes mentally. And so they wanted Ananda to be there so he could remember all the teachings of the Buddha. But he was not at their level, so he was not allowed to be there. But they tried to get him. Hey, why aren't you at the Buddha's at the level we're at? You were right next to him. Well, I didn't have time to meditate and all that. I was just busy. So, but he said, okay, maybe I remember his teachings on meditation. Maybe if I start meditating, I will become to their level, whatever that is, or hats or whatever they called it. And so he started meditating, remember how to meditate. But he was frustrated. He couldn't meditate, and the council meeting was starting pretty soon, and he was frustrated and he gave up. He said, I'll never make it. He started crying. He gave up. But upon giving up, he did attain that level. Yay! So he made it and got there in time to remember all the teachings. And all the teachings start with "Thus I have heard." So all the teachings, the sutras, they start. Thus have I heard. One time, the Buddha was over here in Mount Dora giving a teaching. So he not Mount Dora, wherever, or at the park.
Right.
And so all the teachings, the sutras start off with "Thus I have heard," or "Thus I remember." I recall.
That's
So he
nice.
remembered all the teachings of the Buddha. and they all got all packaged up into the suttas. Oh, that's Ananda.
Yeah.
Oh, but there's another one.
Another Pitaka, yeah. Sutta Pitaka.
But that was his cousin. But there was another cousin, but he was a bad cousin. He wanted the Buddha to be more ascetic, more like the Jains, and he was always criticizing the Buddha. And he even wanted to kill the Buddha and take over the community at one time. Or he was scheming to kill the Buddha at different time, like let go of a wild elephant, but the Buddha tamed it. Things like that, stories like that.
So it's interesting. Like the work of the guardian of the Dharma, the fellow you described, Ananda, he had to give up first.
Give up, and then he became an arhat.
So, I mean, in a Christian context, that would be a reference to grace.
Yeah.
Or to put it another way, he didn't have the memory. He realized he couldn't do it. He admitted he couldn't do it. And only after that process was he able to do it. So who was doing it? How was the Dharma being actually transmitted? Was it being like, how did the block, first of all, how did it come into being? Was it self-built? Or was it built by Brahma in order to remind Ananda and the rest of us by extension that without grace we are unable to do anything. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be a key component. And also the key to that component is realizing that it's not from us. That which took away the block from him being able to recall was the block. Question A was the block self-created, and question B, or was it the result of a natural process, or was it deity formed, or some, let's say, fourth option, D, none of the above. But then once the block is there and the block is a reality, we have to admit the block is there, and then how? Because I don't think certain things I just don't feel or sense are possible by way of human effort. I think experientially we all know this deep down. What do you think? I think there's some of us who would insist that all things are achievable through human effort. Perhaps Ben Griffith might take that stance, or Sam Harris might take that stance, that eventually we'll solve all problems. That's a faith in humanity that I think is just a slightly bit unjustified, to say the least. Like the things that we can do are amazing, but I still think you need something there, either an idea or or I found it's not so much ideas that make the difference, but the removal of certain things, certain blocks that keep the ideas from flowing. Does that make sense? It's, in other words, it's what is removed that enables the process, not what is added.
What is my block? What's blocking me?
Yeah.
What is blocking me from attaining our hatship or some level of enlightenment?
Well, is it?
What? Oh, first wanting it. Maybe that's the block itself. When Ananda gave up. He no longer wanted it, and then it just came to him. Mhm.
Okay,
Wanting,
that's
wanting
possibility A.
intellectually, something into. Hmm. Mhm.
You know, pride can be a block.
Oh, right, and urgency and pressure. Yes, athletes, artists, when they just let go and let their 10,000 hours of practice let it do the work.
Yes.
Hmm.
Overthinking.
Overthinking.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Attachment.
Ah. Mm. 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 Mm.
Oh, have you filled
Yes.
out the database for Hyrozon? Have you gone into the admin and created an entry for all your works and all your storage places?
Mm. I've started. I found an application.
Yes.
I
Oh, does it
downloaded
scan?
it
Yes.
and opened it, and it has a ISBN
I was wondering about
code
that. Yes.
scanner,
Good. Good.
and then it brings up the title and an image of it, and even a description of it. And so I
Beautiful.
add it to my collection. So maybe I have over 30 some books already added, and I can
Good.
also add some other items to it. And then I can download it as a comma separated value table
Perfect.
and convert it
Yes.
to XLSX or
You don't need to do. You
Excel
don't. No.
spreadsheet.
No. Leave it as comma separated values files.
Mm.
And then you need to take
Oh,
the
maybe
comma separated file and have that fed into the administrative.
database. Mm-hmm.
There's probably an API that connects with the underlying database that the administrative interface deals
Mm-hmm.
with. So you just either a component that does that automatically exist, or you need one written. One
Mm-hmm.
one or one way or the other. There's going to be a way to get it to scan and auto populate whatever data you collected to upload
Mm.
directly into the database.
Wow.
Yes.
And I'm thinking of having a column for sold, for not
Yeah.
for sale,
Oh
for
yes.
borrowed, for to
Yes.
be borrowed.
Yes.
Or what else could I put?
Do you want to incorporate a like a
Given away, like I when I give it away to
right?
the used bookstore,
Yes.
try to
Right.
get credit for it.
Well, here's another idea. uh, it is a because you probably have some rare works in your collection. What would be
Wow.
considered hard to finds?
Mm.
And what you could do is say name its worth. In other words, how much the person looking for the book is willing to pay. They declare the price, and then you get a notification. Hey, this person wants to send you $300 for this particular text. Are you willing to
Wow.
hard edit for that price, or do you think that text is at that moment you go, well, hold on, maybe I think it's worth $500, or at that time you could think,
Wow.
wow, I only paid $12.95 and I only value it at $200, so yeah, for sure I'll sell it for that price.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yes, it even has a field for where it was bought and for how much it was bought for. Maybe it could have a field for the price that suggested retail price or whatever that's printed on the book. Maybe that's not necessary.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
past a certain point, I don't know if there's public data kept for that.
And when it was purchased. So sometimes the books I don't remember when I had purchased it. So I put 66 12. June
Okay.
6th, and the year roughly when I must have got it by guessing.
Okay.
Looking for some clues, like they left the price on here, or maybe Bright Lights Bookstore and they left their tag on it, or maybe I find the receipt for it in the book,
Yes.
or maybe the Amazon receipt. Aha! I bought it at
Some-
Amazon for $12.
Some of the data is important. Some of the data could be important for historical purposes. Other parts of the data less so. The real, from the perspective of the buyer, I think they just want the text. So they want to know the condition that it's in, whether or not it's complete.
Oh, condition.
And
Be able to-
when it comes to figuring out market price, and that often comes down to auction houses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There
And
may be a
then
database, like a master database, or a few different proprietary databases that hold a running price for certain texts, or like large swaths of all texts.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
something to research.
I think it does bring up, maybe in the description, sometimes it brings up what a price, maybe like a suggested price, or I don't know. I have to look at it again.
Right. Yeah.
And if it can't be found in because maybe it doesn't have an ISBN code, so I enter it manually. Maybe I take a picture of it and type it in. And sometimes by entering the title and a little of the author, sometimes it does bring up certain editions of the book. So I go through the editions to select the right one.
Yeah. Also, you might want to think about the different ways that books can be bundled. One way could be
Oh wow!
by all the books within the Heterozone
Topic.
collection by this author, or all the books on this subject.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a collection of or a box of these kinds of books for only $20, and the shipping included.
Well,
Maybe
ultimately,
it's exciting to put
no,
shipping
no, no,
included.
'cause you're losing money. You're losing money at that point, Hyro.
Very.
Another
It
way to think of your entire
encourages
set.
them. Wow, shipping is included. All right. But then
Yeah,
the
it's
shipping might
called.
cost
They get in a
half
car
the
and they
price.
drive to your warehouse. No, that's
Probably
not
costs
shipping.
more to ship it than what I get. But
Yeah, no, yeah.
I
You
saw
have to
some.
factor all those matters in. The goal of a business is to generate a profit. Um,
Mm,
so
mm.
another way to think of your collection of all your books once you've got them all in a database is to think
Wow.
of them in terms of their total valuation. For instance, what
Mm,
would be the market price for your total collection versus how you would how you personally would set a value on your entire library? Because it's quite
wow.
possible that you would set a value of, let's say, between $2,000 and $12,000, but the world could look at your entire library and set a price of $200,000 or $300,000.
Wow.
Or the world could say that your entire library is worth $200. You don't really know
Oh.
what the market price is, and it
Mm,
comes down all the way to the specific text.
mm.
And some of your books may be worth all of the rest of them combined.
Wow.
And you don't necessarily have a way of knowing which one is which.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to be able to put them out there and be able to connect with the people who would be after the certain rare text that they'd only be able to acquire or source through your website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those certain rare texts from the 50s and 60s that were sold at 36 cents or so per dollar.
Oh yeah.
Paperbacks.
Yeah.
Small paperback.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot
There's
of them. Yeah.
very
You're right.
they, some Edgar Casey books, or some how to develop
Yeah.
your psychic abilities kind of books. Yeah,
Right. Yes.
I
Yeah.
will read how to
There's
develop
still
my
people in the
psychic
market for
abilities.
that stuff. Yeah. Steve Hall would probably be into that sort of thing, and he represents a side community of persons who would have money.
Wow. And then I can upload my reviews of books on the Hyrozon YouTube channel. Welcome, friends, to Hyrozon on YouTube, where I review books. Maybe I read
that would help.
the cover.
That's an organic way to market your site. Yes. Today we'll be reviewing. Also, some of your books are over 97 years old,
Wow.
where the copyrights potentially have expired. Do you want to take some of the profits of your company and pour them into a digitization for those texts which are past copyright?
Wow. Archive.org.
Yeah.
Call it Hyrozon Archive.org, where I preserve books that are never going to be published again. Maybe I scan each page with my phone. I take pictures of it and then use a lens, Microsoft Lens, to
Or you can elect all the books and you go to a place that has an actual book scanner, like the kinds that Google and a few other groups have used, that takes a nice high-res flat photograph of that text, and then you can archive them to archive.org, or upload copies from the Hyrozon user. And if someone clicks on the Hyrozon user, there's a link to hyrozon.com or hyrozon.org, because that's the public service branch of your enterprise.
Wow. And I found a book that is missing pages.
Okay.
It's still rare. I could say it's in the pieces are separated, so I could scan it in full color, make it look rare. It's the title of the book is "You Are God" by Mary.
Oh, okay. So it
You
was
are God.
it was written from the perspective of Mary, the mother of Jesus, speaking to his son.
I don't know. I'll have to read the remaining pages. Maybe out of 50 pages, I've got 30 of those pages. So I'll read. Maybe upload me reviewing the book. Maybe it's sold at Amazon, but it's rare. Or maybe they sell it for a pretty good price if it's no longer published. Or maybe they have a Kindle version.
So Christianity, when it comes to the concept of God, tends to be fairly exclusive. Also, Jesus himself said he didn't come to unite, but to divide.
Wow.
All the way down into the individual members of the family. And when asked, when being told that his
Sort of
mother and his brothers, sort of like who or what?
Sort of like Trump.
Kind of. Remember, Jesus predates Trump. So divide and rule is the process by which the earth is governed. All right. There's a phrase, do not let the left know what the right is doing, and vice versa, or something like that. But my point is that the phrase "only begotten Son" is key to understand when it comes to like we may all, and if you're a subscriber of the Catholic Church, then the Immaculate Conception, the idea that Mary was born without original sin, but the rest of us were. Meaning, And there was some early church. I don't know if it's church father or if it's a heresy. I don't know if it's incorporated in the catechism, but the idea that that all of humanity inherit. Well, I know for a fact the idea that the soul being inherited is an idea that Tertullian promoted. He's the guy who popularized or first introduced the idea of God in three substances. So fairly significant as a church father. Yeah.
Churchland.
Churchland? What?
What's his name? Churchland.
No. Tertullian.
Kirkland.
No,
No?
not Kirkland. Tertullian. Let me stick it in the chat.
Wow.
Tertullian.
Not Kirkland is in
He was
Costco.
from North Africa.
He was what?
Yeah, no, not Costco. Here, I'm sending you his name. There. Come on, paste for me. Paste for me. Did it post? Okay. Let's see. No, it did not post. He was born in 160 AD and he died in 240 AD.
Wow.
Tertullian, thank you. So, all right, so we inherit the soul. That means there's one human soul, male and female. Or, as some people like to grossly oversimplify, one make, two models. So, if there's one human soul breathed into with life, and there's one, they say that through one man, Adam, the world fell from grace and lived then with the consequences of sin. Through another man, the new Adam, Christ, the world is restored. The world being the world of mankind.
Wow.
This creature created or established to have dominion over the earth. To work it and all that stuff. So, in that narrative or in that frame, Mary, I forget the person who came up with the idea of Immaculate Conception. If all mankind is of sin and God cannot spring forth from sin, then there had to be an explanation of the uniqueness of the Mother of God, and that's where Immaculate Conception comes from. The idea that she was born absent of said original sin, free thereof, and only there and then could God, God's self, father a son. Like no other would be acceptable. That's why she's blessed among women. So what am I saying? What am I saying? I'm just repeating probably Catholic theology or Roman Catholic theology. But what is the significance of that? I don't know. Let me expand to. Oh, go on.
So, could it be that they added that amendment to the Constitution theology of the Roman Catholic, philosophy, in order to make sense of, in order to make it possible, an explanation for why, why would, like, if it weren't so, then, and Jesus would be half human, half divine, so he would have half the makeup and potential of being flawful instead of flawless.
This is interesting.
They would be flawful. Well, perhaps
So
flawful.
it turns out that it's actually relatively well. There's a okay. So it was. I just looked it up. It was Pope Pius IX originally originated the Immaculate Conception as a formal dogma in get this, only 1854, when he declared that the Virgin Mary was conceived without the stain of original sin. So, yeah, right, okay. However, the belief has a long history with a feast day celebrating Mary's conception, originating as early as the 7th century and gaining theological support throughout the Middle Ages.
Hmm?
Yeah.
It was
So
already in
the
place
idea was rolling around in people's head for at least 13 centuries, but it was only
amongst,
less than 200
amongst
years ago.
theologians amongst themselves. That it wasn't made
Well,
official until the 19th century.
right.
And the Protestants protest. They say,
No, because the Protestants didn't come up. Well, maybe they have.
or maybe
The
they
Protestants
weren't there yet.
started 300 years prior, over 300 years prior to this idea.
Maybe
Now,
they
what do you
have
think
something like that.
Protestants say? Do who have something like what?
The Protestants, do they have something like that? Immaculate Conception?
I,
Or they don't
well,
bother with it?
the thing to understand about Protestants is that if you go back far enough, they're Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about Catholics, if you go back far enough, they're still merged with the Eastern Orthodox.
Wow.
Okay, for like 1,000 years.
Wow.
The Great Schism only happened a millennia ago, and then
Wow.
the Protestant Reformation happened half a millennia ago. And this is a
Whoa.
church that, like, it could be argued will be celebrating 2 millennia sometime in the next decade.
Hmm.
Yes.
That's lineage. Lineage. Important.
Yeah.
Important in Tibetan Buddhism to have lineage. To have to
Yeah.
say that,
Well,
yes, my guru, he was taught by his guru, and so
yes.
on, all the way back to the time of the Buddha.
Yes.
But of
Right.
course, his theory or his doctrine might have changed since then. Along the gurus, they tweak it, so the Buddha would protest. I I I object. I didn't say that. I don't believe that. The Buddha might come back and say that.
through a reincarnation, through a lama, for
Reincarnation of
instance.
the
Right. Yes. Right.
reincarnation of the Buddha, and that Buddha would know his past life as a Buddha and would say, "Ha ha, you get it all wrong. This isn't
Not, not,
Buddhism anymore."
not all Buddhists recognize the Dalai Lama as an authority within their Buddhist faith. Is that correct or belief?
Oh
Is
man,
that
the Dalai Lama is only a, a fraction of Tibetan Buddhism. But
right?
he's like their father of the country, kind of. So but maybe they don't all follow the Dalai Lama's teachings, except for those are that following him.
Right.
And he was in charge at the age of 15 to be like the leader of the country, but he escaped to India, and
The current
India
one. Right.
gave him a place to live.
Right.
He's been there since, like the government in exile
Right.
or the Central Tibetan Authority. And so they
What
try to do democratically nominate their officials, and the Dalai Lama stepped down as their leader. Right? Maybe he's more like a spiritual advisor.
Right. Yes. Kind of to the degree to which Canada has their relationship with King Charles III,
Mm.
because it becomes political. if you have a spiritual leader as a king, you still can't escape the political or the day-to-day management operations aspect of what it takes to run a country, and how much can be placed on any one person,
Mhm.
even if they are claimed to be the descendant of the Buddha, not the descendant, but the spiritual reincarnation of the Buddha.
Mm. Mhm. Canada. Canada has a prime minister.
Uh-huh.
And what was Trudeau? Was he a prime minister too?
Prime Minister of
No.
Canada, that's right.
He's no longer prime minister. Now it's McCarthy. He's
That's right.
said. Mm,
Yeah.
mm, 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 mm.
I think we focus too much on on figureheads.
Figureheads.
Like we have way more work to do with regard to ourselves than we ever can
Mm,
seek or hope to affect
uh,
when it comes to figurehead.
mhm,
In fact, to spend time upon a figurehead is like to steal time from the work that we have both on ourselves and to those for whom we are responsible, such as this guy right here.
mm,
That's why I don't focus on
mm,
presidents so much. I got a bigger
mhm,
job to worry about.
mhm.
Hey, what are you looking for? Mark Kearney.
Why?
Yeah.
Why did I call this? That I titled it "You Are Gods." Why? Because this morning I was listening to uh, a YouTube channel video titled, or I think it was titled Christ, Vedantic Christianity, maybe. And they say, what? I'll have to ask AI, what's this all about? Advaita? Vedantic Christianity? How would that differ from mainstream Christianity in Orthodox Christian theology? And what in it would be considered a blasphemy? Who are these proponents? They were some mysticism. I found a small book titled You Are God by Mary, and now I came across a YouTube video that takes a look at the ideas from another book titled You Are Gods. There's a simple description. It's a book by David Bentley Hart, Notre Dame Press. Bentley Hart says that the book could equally have been subtitled Studies in Vedantic Christianity, which I take as a lead. What might traditional Christian themes such as God and Jesus, salvation and spirit, creation and grace, worship and judgment look like within such a perspective?
I'll have to catch the rest of this in the
Yes.
archive, Hyro, because he's slowly closing tabs, including the tab through which I'm zooming on his Chromebook right
Ah,
now.
you
I was
can
literally using his
press the
Chromebook
link.
to log in this morning.
I wanna do.
No need. That's okay. I can let it go.
Hmm, maybe. Have you heard of the of guys like who is it? Is it Meister Eckhart? Eckhart? Mm,
Yes. Yes.
mm,
Do you have
mm.
fun?
Yes, I did have fun
Yes.
with you, Ezekiel. When I disappear, I'll be gone. So I wish you a good week and hopefully see you tomorrow morning.
Wow, that would be good. Looking forward to it. Thank you for
Peace.
waking up and seeing clearly.
Thank you, Hyro, for hosting.
Bye bye.